Hello, and thank you for joining our Demo Day event. We have 17 talented developers that we'll introduce you to today. They spent the past 12 weeks working tirelessly, pushing themselves through every challenge we put in front of them. Even when our campus closed due to COVID-19, they adjusted quickly and never let it hold them back. We are so proud of all they have accomplished and feel honored to have had a chance to work with them as they take the next step in their web development journey. If you'd like to learn more about each student, please visit our Demo Day site at suncoast.io/demo-day. We will also be holding a virtual after party at 3 p.m. where you'll be able to chat with each student and learn more about them and their projects. We will share a link again at the end of this viewing. Please sit back and relax as we present Cohort 17 and their capstone projects.
Hi everybody, it's Alexa. I'm about to show you my app Endless Possibilities, but I thought I would let you know what languages I used to create it. So for my backend, it is .NET Core and C#. For my databases, Postgres. For my front end, HTML, CSS, Sass, JavaScript, and React. And then to deploy, I use Docker, and the site is hosted on Heroku. Enjoy! My app is Endless Possibilities. The idea behind Endless Possibilities is like a Tinder but for rescue animals. I'm sure everyone has been to a rescue site and it can be very overwhelming to look through hundreds of pages of animals that all need homes, and it can leave you feeling a little discouraged. So the idea behind this is that you answer some lifestyle questions and you will be best matched with animals that are available. So this is my homepage here. Little about us section that just kind of explains the idea behind the app, and a how it works section that basically explains how to create a profile and what it looks like once you do. So if you already have an account, you can go right up here to the sign in. This will allow you to sign in using your email address and password. If you don't have an account, there's a link for it there, or you can go to find a match. And I'm going to walk through creating an account so that we can show you the questionnaire. So I'm just going to go ahead and input some information in here. So I will sign up and brings me to my questionnaire. So I'll start to fill this out. Let's say I have an apartment, no yard, looking for a cat. I don't consider myself very active. I already have a cat and no small children. So here's our profile page. It'll give you your name at the very top, your zip code. The zip code I'd like to be a version 2 feature where you can pick the radius that you would like to look in. If you scroll down a little bit, you have the About You. This is how you answered the questions. Version 2, I'd like to be able to add an edit feature so that you can change those if you need to. And then there's Applications, which is also a version 2, so you can send applications directly to the rescue. So when you're ready to start matching, click, and it'll bring you all of your matches based on how you answered the questions. Each animal will have a description, how many years old, everything that you'd look for when searching for a rescue animal. Once you find a couple you like, you can click the heart to favorite and head back to your profile and go to your favorites page, and they'll live there. Just to show you it's responsive, that's what it would look like in mobile view. And if you decide you don't like Chloe anymore, you can click the heart and unfavorite and it will refresh the page. Also, this is what our profile page would look like in mobile view as well. So that is the app. Thank you so much for watching.
Alrighty, welcome. My name is Austin Parvin, and this is my application, Ladybug. Ladybug is a multi-user issue tracking application. It is a single-page application that's built with ASP.NET Core and Postgres database on the back end, and with a front end of React. I wanted to build this application specifically because I wanted an app that had clear CRUD operations and I wanted an app that I had a reference point to judge against. Most of you have probably used an issue tracking application in the past, so this should be somewhat familiar here. I'm going to use two user stories to demonstrate the app. Mark, who is a manager for Coca-Cola, and Austin, who is a web developer for Coca-Cola. So Mark one day sees that the homepage is missing the logo and that the links are the wrong color. So he's going to go ahead and start tracking this issue in Ladybug. So as we log in and get past the promo page here, you'll see that I integrated Auth0 to authenticate our users and allow them to be able to sign in with their social profiles. So we have GitHub and Google here. Mark's going to go ahead and use Google. And once Mark logs in here, the first page is going to be his issues, both assigned to him and issues that he's created himself. So since he has neither of those, we're going to go ahead and add an issue. So we're going to go ahead and add in a title. Okay. We're going to add a description. Missing on the home page. And then the links are also the wrong color. And we're going to go ahead and add an action item. This is an item for the person who picks up the ticket to complete before closing out the issue. So we'll go ahead and add fix the missing logo. And you'll see whenever we add in an issue here, a input field is dynamically produced below. And if we also delete the input field, it gets removed as well. So we'll go ahead and add in change the nav links to white. Now, before I had this set up, it was just adding an issue item via a button and removing it via a button. I knew the user experience could be a lot better, so I went ahead and implemented this. So let's look at the code real quick to see how I did that. So first off, these input fields are being mapped over a state variable to be created. And each one of them has a onChange listener here. So whenever the value is changed, we create a new array, and in that array we populate the data that the state variable originally had, and then add in the value that we are tracking now. And then we filter out any values that are empty, and that's how we get the removal of an action item once the field is empty. Then we check to see if all are filled, and we add a empty field at the end, and that's how we get this dynamic adding as well of an input field. And then we set the variable, and yeah, so I really enjoyed this user experience and figuring that out. So next we're going to go ahead and click the importance. We're going to check medium for here. You can assign this to any of the users, but we're going to go ahead and leave this unassigned so that Austin can find it. Excuse me. We're going to select a due date. You can see that you can't pick any past due dates here, so we are going to select a couple days out and create the issue. Now, once we've created the issue, it should show up in Mark's created issues, and it does. In this issue card, you can see the due date, the importance, and you can see if it's been picked up. So you can see it's available now. Once somebody picks it up, that should be populated with their email. Let's look at the issue detail here. So Mark can claim an issue if he wants that he creates. He can also edit it, close it, and delete it. We'll go ahead and edit it real quick. Let's say he put the wrong color here, and the link should actually be black. We can also update the title and update the description. And once we update this, you'll be able to see on the issue card detail that these have been updated. The icons here and the design overall was done prior to developing any of this. I went ahead and mocked up these designs for the website. I'm happy with how it turned out. This was my second time mocking up a website like this. I used Sketch to do it. You can see the icons up here, the promo page, and the overall layout of the page that we've got. So heading back to the issue, we'll go ahead and leave this for Austin to pick up now. So jumping over to his account. So Austin's going to go ahead and be coming in to work for the first, and have no issues. And he is just going to go and see what's available for him to pick up. So you can see he has no issues here. Checks open issues. He sees the issue mark created. And you can see he can't edit it. He can't delete it. Those two things should be reserved for who created the issue. And he can't close it yet because he has to claim it first. So we'll go ahead and claim the issue. It shows up in his now assigned issues. You can see his name's populated down here. Mark also would be able to see that. Yeah, so he can release the issue if he accidentally picked up the wrong one or anything else. So we're going to go ahead and assume that he's fixed this issue, close it, and cool, it's done. It should show up in his assigned closed issues. You can see that I was using this to track my own progress through building the app itself. So we'll go ahead and look at this here, and cool, it's been closed. You can see that you can reopen the issue as well. I want to take this point real quick to also show that this app was built with a mobile-first design. So the entire app works flawlessly in mobile, as it was originally developed for mobile. Yeah, that is the application. Thank you guys so much for listening. As for what I would do in the future with this application, I would love to add a search bar up here at the top that does a global search, and the results page would have my issues, open issues, and closed issues as headers, and then any issues that match those search parameters. And also having a company table and having companies sign up, and then having users be assigned to a specific company so that they can have individual issue pools. But yes, thank you so much for listening to my app.
Hi, my name is Bianca Brown, and this is my app called My Food. It's essentially a food diary to keep track of what menu items from restaurants you like or dislike. So I'll start off with why I wanted to build this app. Sushi is one of my favorite foods, especially Mexican rolls. I know it's not very traditional sushi, but it's still my favorite. And I live in downtown St. Pete, so there are a lot of sushi restaurants in this area, and I've ordered from every single one of them. Some are good, some aren't, and when I'm trying to remember which restaurant I like, I can never remember if I liked their Mexican roll or not. For instance, was there too much rice? Or did they put a gallon of eel sauce on top for some reason? Or was the shrimp deveined? That is my biggest pet peeve if it's not. So with my app, you're able to rate different menu items from a restaurant instead of just the restaurant as a whole. You're able to add a restaurant, search and add a restaurant that you have been to, the lure, and view their menu items. And then once you click on a menu item, you can see the reviews that other people have added, as well as different questions. For instance, was the flavor good? Were the ingredients fresh? Was it cooked and assembled properly? Would you order it again? All of these things that help you identify which aspects you liked or disliked about the dish. And they're pretty generic questions that can apply to pretty much every food item. You can also add additional comments and submit your review. And once you submit your review, it adds it to the average for this dish. So right now there's 2 reviews, one of 50, one of 43. So that is just the average. And you're also able to add a dish if you would like. So yeah, and add a restaurant here as well. So you can, if you don't see your restaurant when you search for it. Let's see. So the technologies I used for my app were .NET, C# for the backend, Postgres for the database, and Heroku and Docker for deploying my app, and HTML and CSS, JavaScript, and React for the front end. What I learned and also found to be a hurdle for me was working with my database and the controllers. How I wanted to get both the menu items and the reviews for one restaurant. So that was so I can have the average and the menu item show here. So what I tried to do was do 2 GET requests in my 2 separate GET requests for the menu item and the review in my restaurant controller, and that didn't work. So what I figured out how to do that is by just chaining them together in one GET request in the restaurant to include both the menu item and the reviews. And that way I was able to get the data I needed from both of my tables for my database. So how I would like to expand on my app. The most important thing would be to add the ability to log in and see your reviews and how you rated them. And then also be able to bookmark your favorite item and upload photos for that menu item. I'd also like to have seated data as well, so the user doesn't have to add a restaurant or menu items. They can just search for it and pick it out, just because I don't want like duplicates of things that people will misspell or anything like that. So I would like to add that feature. And also, I would love to add different categories for review questions. For instance, if you ordered from Uber Eats or you ordered to go, and then have the different questions for those different review categories, based on what category you wanted to see what the menu item is like when you get it to go or eat it in the restaurant. I'd also be able to show the top rated dish in your current location. I thought that would be kind of cool. Like in St. Pete, the best burger is this. I thought that would be kind of a cool aspect of it. So yeah, that's my app. Thank you so much. I hope you like it. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. My name is Cesare Bailog, or just Ches for short. I'm a current student here at SDG with cohort number 17. A little bit about myself. I consider myself to be a creative or artistic person by nature. I love to paint, build, draw, just make anything aesthetically pleasing, as well as go out and look at other artists' works of art and be inspired. And that is what led me to create Mural Path, because I live here in St. Pete, and we are surrounded by such a rich artistic community and culture here. And there are literally hundreds of murals, but they are so difficult to find sometimes. So I thought it would be great to have a site where I can go and pull up all the murals on a map so I can find them more easily versus just wandering around the city trying to find a specific mural, as well as log new murals that are created along the way. So this is my homepage here. We have our little title as well as a link to our map, a little bit of a about Mural Path section and how it works. But we'll go ahead and jump into the map view, which will center around your location. So if you're in Phoenix or Tarpon Springs, Weeki Wachee, it's going to be what's around you. Right now, I only have the murals for the St. Pete area that I've found so far, just because of the whole COVID thing. I didn't want to go into other cities at this time. But you can go ahead and click on each individual pin, which will bring you up a little card for each mural, which has the artist name, a small image of the mural, and a link to its page. Not every mural has a artist name because it's not on the mural, so I wasn't able to log some of that information, but hoping to find it in the future. But let's say we want to check out this one here. Brings you to the individual page so you can see the mural in a much larger scale, as well as all the information, the artist name, a link back to the map, as well as the full address and longitude and latitude. The only reason I included the longitude and latitude is because if you put in the address, your GPS is going to take you to the front of the building, and some of the murals are usually in the back or on the side, so the longitude and latitude is a little more accurate. We got a brief description of the mural and some functions down here. We have a delete a mural function and a update mural information function as well. In future editions of this app, I would really like the crowdsourcing to be a lot more controlled, where only people who work with the web page or like verified accounts or verified users on a hierarchy of power can actually delete a mural and update the mural. That way no one's just being malicious and deleting a bunch of the murals or going in and changing the artist name to something else. But right now it is just any user. So let's say we wanted to go ahead and go in here and change this to actually an unknown user or unknown artist, because it is not displayed. We can go ahead and do that, and there it is. And then we can also search, if you don't want to do the map view, you can always go by the search engine and search by, you can search by the street address, the zip code, the city, and if you wanted a really broad spectrum, you can search by the state. But right now we'll just go ahead and we'll search by zip code, which will bring up all the murals in that little area here. And if you were on the map view and also in the search engine, you couldn't find one of the murals that you have or you're by, you can go ahead and go add mural. Again, in future editions, I would like this to be like report a new mural, and someone would go out and verify that that mural is there and that the information is accurate. But for right now, let's go ahead and put a description. I love cows because they are cute. We're going to go ahead and put in an artist name, a full address. Let's go ahead and put this in here. Right now, I only have the ability to do image URLs. I would love to be able to have the ability to have the user open up their gallery and upload an image that way, or even their camera. But I ran out of time and I didn't want to try to implement something that wasn't going to function properly. So we can go ahead and log this new mural. It will take us to our new murals page, which has all the information we just displayed, as well as the longitude and latitude. And we can go ahead and pull it up on the map. And it is going to be this guy right here. And we can go ahead and delete that though. That way we don't have a fake one in there. And then one last aspect of Mural Path I would really like to implement is more of a social aspect. I called it Mural Path because I wanted it to be more like a passport, where you go out in the city and you found this amazing piece of art, you can go down and collect a stamp, just like in a passport for, like there's Pub Pass that does it, or just like a regular passport, like a stamp to prove that you have been to this mural, as well as the ability, if we have an artist information, I would love to be able to connect to that artist's social platforms. So if they have a Facebook, an Instagram, you can connect to them that way, so you can follow them, see what other works of arts they did, as well as connect to if they have an Etsy page or their own personal website where you can go buy some of their products. I would really love that to be part of the future editions. But as of right now, this is pretty much Mural Path in a nutshell. And I can't wait to keep building and making this grow. I think it will be a really fun app for people to go out and discover our beautiful cities and these amazing works of art that I feel like everyone really needs to see. Thank you for your time and your patience, and have a wonderful day.
Hi everyone, my name is Corinne Carew. I'm a student at SDG for the Full Stack Web Development Program. The app I created is called Dine With Me. Its purpose is to alleviate that problem that I know everybody has. They ask their significant other or their friend to lunch and they can never decide where they want to go. This app is for that very problem. So you can sign users up but I've already made 2 users, and usually you'd use a phone number, but for right now, just to keep track of everybody, the 2 users that we are using for this example, I just had them have user C phone and user B phone. In the future, I'd really like for this app to be able to text that person when they get a request, or text that person when they have agreed on 2 different restaurants. And you will see what I mean in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and log user C in, and this is their home page. So we have user C and user B. What you would do in this app is you would click make a Dine request, and you'd go in here, request user B. Maybe we want to go tomorrow at 12 o'clock p.m. for a lunch party. All right, so you'd send that request, and to make sure you've sent your request, you can come down here into pending request, and you can see that you've asked user B to dine with you for lunch party tomorrow at 12. And you can always go ahead and delete this request if you end up not being able to make it, if something comes up. But unless you delete this request, it's still going to show up for user B. So we're going to go over here and refresh user B's page. And so here you can see user C is requested to dine with you for a lunch party tomorrow at 12. You can deny this if you can't make it, but for right now, we're just going to go ahead and accept it. And this is where the tender aspect of my app comes into play. So you kind of get to choose yes or no, just like you'd swipe yes or right on Tinder. You go, I like ceviche, so sure, I'm going to say yes to that one. I'm not really in the mood for Mexican, so no. That lobster looks good, so sure, I like surf and turf, and so on and so forth. So you kind of just go through these. These are 10 hard-coded restaurants. I use Postgres to put them in. And if you notice, you can see there's a picture of the restaurant, the name of the restaurant up here, how expensive it is, what type of food, and where it's located. All right. And so user B has accepted the request. They have said yes or no to their restaurant. So we're going to go back over to user C. Go ahead and refresh their page, and you will see that user B has accepted your dine request for lunch party. So now you have to go ahead and choose your restaurants. So I'm just going to choose these randomly, and again, I use Postgres to put these in. In the future, I'd really like to hook this up to a Yelp API, so that maybe you could like click this picture and a link to Yelp comes up where you can see the different reviews and maybe look at the menu items. So, all right, and once you both have completed your restaurants pickings, you can come down here and you can see that you've agreed to these restaurants. So you and user B have agreed to these restaurants for lunch party tomorrow at 12. We've agreed to Ceviche, Park Shore Grill, Hawkers, and Bodega. All wonderful choices in St. Pete. So at this point, user C would text user B and say, hey, I see we've agreed on these 4 restaurants, but I really like Park Shore Grill, so let's meet up there. And so it kind of helps narrow the choices down, and it helps with being able to choose where you want to go eat. In the future for this app, I'd really like to be able to narrow this down to 1, maybe by a rating system, or maybe even just go back through the restaurants. So maybe the users can go through these restaurants and rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, and the one that both of them scale the highest, that's the one that they go to. But for right now, with the time constraints that I had, this is how we're gonna use this app for right now in beta version. I also would like to show you how you can deny a request. So I'm just going to go ahead and do user B again. And I'm going to say deny this request and send. So you can see down here you have a pending request, right? And we want to deny this request. So I'm going to go back over to user B, reload their page, and for whatever reason, user C cannot get to they can't make it to this dining request. They can't go, so they're going to go ahead and deny that. And in the future, I'd really like to make a reschedule option. that would be in a future version. So we come back over to user C, reload their page, and you can see down here that user B has denied your request for deny this request. So you can either reschedule by clicking the link back up here, or just go ahead and delete this request. And that is my app. That's Dine With Me. I would really like to add different features. Like I said, I'd like to connect this to a Yelp API, maybe be able to narrow these restaurants down, and also be able to reschedule a request on the denier side. So that is Dine With Me, and I use JavaScript, React.js, and .NET to create this program.
Hey there, I'm Daniel Demerin, and I'm a former animator and designer turned developer and a recent graduate from Suncoast Developers Guild. And this is Daydream Books, a community-curated library of children's books with a dynamic page-flipping UI, where users can upload and read those books. So one of the reasons I decided to make Daydream is because I love stories and I love sharing them, especially the fun and fantastical kind. So Daydream is meant for parents to share their stories with their kids, whether it's ones they've read when they were children, or another parent uploaded that they've never read before. To me, it's just another way of sharing my love of stories. And much more in future versions. Anyhow, let's get into it, shall we? So, Daydream Books was developed from the ground up using JavaScript with React hooks in the front end, and C# with ASP.NET backend framework. This is all deployed through Docker and hosted by Heroku. On top of all of that, all the graphic assets were handcrafted by me using Adobe Photoshop, and as you can see, are all made to work with a responsive website. But since the app was built with a mobile user in mind, we're going to go ahead and view it in mobile. Here we have a simple login and sign up splash page. Using Microsoft Identity and JSON Web Tokens for user authentication and authorization, sign up is incredibly simple. All we have to do is enter a first name, an email address, and a super secret password. And like that, a token gets assigned to the user, and boom, we're brought to the profile page. As you can see, this is where we'll be storing some of our favorite books for later. And in future versions, the page will display not only the name of the child, but the parent, give them the ability to pick their avatar for their profile picture, and the day they signed up to Daydream. So let's head to the home page and see here, the featured section of the app. In future versions, this will display the most viewed book, but at the moment, it displays a randomized choice from the library of books and renders its cover and title here. So this is all done through API calls that talk to a PostgreSQL database with EF Core acting as our ORM. Once the data is called from the data tables, we use the power of React hooks to render the items on the page automatically using useEffect, and pass them between components with useState. We can see that being done not only with the featured book, but across the entire app. This was certainly one of the toughest challenges to wrap my brain around, understanding what the state was doing and how it was passing around data and how to map across several data tables so the page would render properly was put to the test with sheer repetition. And like I mentioned before, while this site is made with a mobile user in mind, the page is still responsive to desktop and tablet views. And we can see here the interface changes with the navigation buttons popping out from the bottom and found here in our hamburger menu. And that's done with just some simple SCSS rules. So instead of scrolling to find our book, we can simply use Daydream's search feature. In this case, we're going to look for Neil Gaiman's Wolves in the Walls. And boom, just like that, with another API call, we get exactly what we're looking for. So for future versions, this search feature will be integrated into the home page using a ternary to swap out the bottom navigation buttons, a component with a search bar component, as well as replace the scrolling through the library with a carousel slider. So let's take a peek on how a user uploads a book. Today I'm going to upload one of my favorites by Margaret Wise Brown. And we're just going to fill in a quick blurb over here and upload that author. And we can see up here in our URL that we're passing the ID of the author to the book, making sure that each book gets properly associated with its author, as well as the pages that I will be uploading shortly, with its book. And here we are in the upload pages section. So we're going to just upload one by one. Eventually, this will be made so that a user can upload multiple pages at once, but at the moment, this works just fine. And we're just going to drop in one more. There we go. So each image we're uploading is hitting our server and being passed through to Cloudinary for image hosting. And at the moment, the only file types that are uploadable are JPEGs and MPGs. For future iterations of this feature, the goal is not only to expand file types, but allow parents to write stories with their kids, entering data through text boxes, and even draw on the pages themselves. All right, now that we've uploaded a new book, let's take a peek and find it using our search function. Good night. And there it is. Okay. And we'll just click right in here and voila, our dynamic page flipping UI. So for future iterations, adaptive design logic will be put in place. So if a user wants to view a book in landscape mode, a new API call will be made in order to populate each page with a specific image for each page side over here, right? As well as in future versions, navigation buttons down here will give more dynamic feedback. That will, for instance, here this favorite button will eventually go from a grayscale to a fully colored. As of now, the button works, and we can see that by popping back here into our profile. And there it is. And that's Daydream Books.
Hello everyone, my name is Evan Gilbert, and today I wanted to show you my app, the Upside Budget Manager. The inspiration for this app was my own past experience with finances. I would look at my bank account and I wouldn't always immediately know how my income should be allocated. So the purpose of this app is to allow you to enter your bank accounts as well as expenses and income to give you an at-a-glance view of where all of your money should be going. So when we log into the home screen, you will see a good summary of all the information that's already been entered, and you can see your bank accounts on the left side as well as your expenses and income on the right side. Then you will see the summary of all that information right at the top. Now, in order to add, modify, and delete this data, each set of data has its own screen that you can access: bank accounts, credit cards, expenses, and income. If we head to one of these screens, you can see that there is an area at the top where you can enter any new records. there is a feature with all of the expenses and income where you can enter a frequency. You can enter a one-time transaction that will allow you to just put that transaction in once and it will only happen one time. This works well for things like gas and groceries that you're not going to be doing on a regular basis as far as the amount. This is really useful for rent or things that are going to be happening on the same day for the same amount. So you can enter your information at the top, and then you can view the existing data in the grid below. This grid below allows you to filter so that you can easily locate any items that might be relevant to you. And you can also go ahead and modify that data as well. So if you enter something and then you want to go ahead and change that information, you can modify the information directly in the grid, and that will allow you to make changes to the existing set of data. This works the same for your bank accounts, your credit cards, your expenses, and your income. Now, if you go ahead and go to the recurring transactions page, this is where you can modify any recurring payments that you may have entered. If you go ahead and enter an income for your wages and you decide that, or you realize that the information is not correct, you can come in here and you can modify the amount for that recurring transaction. And when you go and view that information in the system again, you will see that it's modified all of the projections for that transaction so that they're not having to be modified one at a time. There is also a user account feature where you can change the period of the home screen. The idea when I created this app was to see information by paycheck. So if you were to get a paycheck on the 1st and the 15th of the month, I would want to see what is coming in on the 1st of the month and then all of the expenses that are going to occur between that date and the next time I'm going to receive a paycheck. However, some people may just want to see this information monthly or by other periods. So I started adding other functionality to where you could just change the home screen setting. And by changing that option, when coming to the home screen, you would be able to see the information in a monthly fashion. That way you can kind of change how this information is displayed based on your personal needs. So each user will be able to set that option and be able to see the homepage in a way that's most fitting for them. The technologies that I used to build this website is the ASP.NET Core on the back end using the C# language for the API and a PostgreSQL database. The front end is built with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React, and there are a couple of extra features that I have built in as well. The system uses a hosted service, which allows the backend to maintain the database as far as recurring transactions. The hosted service will go ahead and continually project all of the recurring transactions 6 months in advance. So once the user has entered a recurring transaction, this hosted service will continually project that information forward for you until you cancel that recurring transaction. There is also a JSON web token that is issued to a user upon login, and this is used to authenticate the users and to also ensure that they don't see any other user's data. This web token is passed to the API with every call so that the API knows to return only that one user's data. So this is the summary of my app. Thank you guys very much for watching and have a great day.
Hi, my name is Justin Sorensen, and this is my capstone project from Suncoast Developers Guild. I created a Dungeons & Dragons character creator. So for the uninitiated, Dungeons & Dragons is a tabletop role-playing game. So you'll generally have a person who is the dungeon master, and he acts as the narrator and also like the referee. So he kind of sets up the boundaries of the world that you're playing in, and then the characters can basically do whatever they want within those confines. So, but there's a lot to a character. You know, they have statistics and backstory and all this other stuff about them, so there's a lot to track. So I thought it would be fun to try to create a character creator for my capstone project. And also, you know, I cut my teeth on Dungeons & Dragons Edition 3, and so sometimes the new rules for Edition 5 slip out of my mind. So I thought it might be good to do this also to reinforce those rules in my head. But so here's the main page when you load it up, just a login screen. If you don't already have an account, you can click here to create one. But I, of course, already do have an account, so I will go ahead and log into that. So the first page that you should get here is the home page. It's going to show you a list of all the characters that you've created. If you don't have any characters, it will just have a link to create a new one. I'm going to go ahead and create one. So I guess I should talk about the back end of this. This is all running on a Postgres database with C# handling the scaffolding and models using Entity Framework. And so for the first part here, we're just looking for the character's kind of basic details. So I'll just go ahead and make one up here. It's going to be Johnny Test. Alignment kind of defines your character's moral code. So I will make this guy true neutral. He just kind of does whatever he feels like at the moment. Doesn't really care about the law or anything like that. Let's see. He's young, I suppose. We'll make him a human. And maybe a druid. So he's a level 1. And then I have a little ternary here set up so that if you choose multi-class no, it kind of clears out those options for you. And we're not going to make this guy multi-class. So if he's a human, he gets common and something else. I'll take common and elvish. And I'm not going to fill out all these things, as I would if I were actually trying to use this character. I'm just going to put some gobbledygook in here. And when I click submit, what should happen is there's an Axios call to post this data to the character table. And if it was posted correctly, then it should redirect me to the next page, which is where I pick stats. So that's working correctly, great. So then here, generally in D&D, when you pick your race and class, you'll get certain bonuses based on that. I do have some of that code already in the project, but I wasn't able to finish implementing it. So for right now, that is going to be manual. As a human, I get a +1 to every stat, and I'll just pick random scores for the others. Alright, so we've got the basic stats filled out. As you can see, as each one is going in, there's some math happening to set up the Constitution score and the Constitution modifier. If you have something in here, it's going to add it to the Constitution score and then subtract 10 and divide by 2 to give you the modifier. I'm a level 1, so proficiency bonus is 2. Base speed for a human is 30 feet. I'm a druid, so I get a D8. And again, level 1s get a 1 for hit die. I don't get any bonuses to HP for being a human. And I'll take the full 8. So then the next thing is going to be saving throw proficiencies. So this is like, if somebody attacked you with something that, your saving throw would be determined by this particular stat, then it's going to use the modifier. But if you get proficiency in it based on your race or class, then you add your proficiency bonus to it. So I don't know what druids get off the top of my head. I imagine wisdom would definitely be one of them. And I'll just say charisma for the other one. So as you can see, when I selected yes on those, it added 2, which is my proficiency bonus. So again, at the end here, when we save stats, it's doing an Axios post to the stats table, and if it's successful, we should be redirected to the skills page. And it looks like that worked. So on this page, I'm doing an Axios get to pull my stat information back in because I need it to set up my skills. Each one of them is based off a particular stat modifier. And usually each character will pick 2 or more skills. Again, that's going to be based on class. I know that animal handling is one of my options for Druid. I'm not sure about the rest, so I'll just pick athletics and set everything else to no. And again, you can see that each one is doing a little math. Once I've selected yes or no, then it decides using a use effect what to do with those scores, and it outputs the correct value. So once again, when we get to the end here, when I save skills, we're going to be posting back to the skills table. And this time when we're done, it should redirect us to the full character sheet. And so that worked once again. And here we are. We kind of have all of the statistics for our character. Now, as you can see, these need to be able to change. You know, if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, your stats and everything can increase as you go up levels, and obviously you're going to gain experience, you know, and equipment and money. So those things would need to be able to be updated. So let's go ahead and throw in some money. And maybe, well, maybe we found a magic sword or something like that. So then once I've submitted both of those, if I go back to the character sheet, we can see that now I have money here and the item listed, which I can also delete from here if I lose it. And that about covers it. In version 2, like the first thing I'd like to do is get race and class bonuses automatically populating in the bonuses for stats and skills. You know, and then later on maybe adding in spells or something like that. I did a little work with the D&D Beyond API during homework one week, just as a little bonus. I wasn't able to implement it for this, but I would definitely like to do that in version 2. So I guess that's it for my D&D character creator. Thank you for watching.
Hello everyone, this is Kamari Ross with the Sleep Tracker app. If you're just joining, this is a video for the Suncoast Developers Guild Cohort 17 class. I'm a part of that class and I'm doing this video on my final project. So let's get straight to it. I created this app to do 2 things. One is to track your sleep as well as display your sleep. I myself have had issues with sleeping in the past, and so I wanted to create an app that mimicked some of the apps that helped me, as well as added maybe 1 or 2 extra features that I didn't see that were in the other apps or you had to pay extra for. So if you see right here, the app is pretty simple. So what we're going to do is in this beginning part, to start the sleep tracker and actually start tracking your sleep, you would just simply click the start button. Now what that does is going to save the date time you see right here in the database and start the so-called timer. And you also have the date today too. Now say you went to bed at 8:41 a.m., you know, so you maybe work a night shift and you wake up and now it's around maybe, let's just say 3 p.m. We're just going to use our imagination. You click the stop timer and that takes a second date time in the database, and we just recorded our sleep. This next part is the sleep quality. We have 5 options, and you can really look at these 5 options based on your experience. Excellent would be the most ideal sleep. Restless sleep would be the complete opposite of that. So for me, it's getting at least 6 hours of non-interrupted sleep. Good would be, for instance, maybe it's a minor interruption. Okay would be, I had a couple interruptions, but I still had a decent amount of sleep. Bad would be, I had maybe several interruptions, wasn't able to sleep that well. And then restless sleep would be, I mostly remember being awake more so than being asleep, feeling groggy in the morning, not feeling okay. That would be an example. But today I had pretty good sleep, so we'll click that. And there you go. That will be our entry into our sleep tracker. And so what you would do is you'd go to stats here. And the one we did is right here. Hold on a second. Let me just double check. Right here. Sorry about that. It is, we started at 8:41 and woke up at 8:41. But this is the one that we did here right here. So while looking at this, there's a couple of things I want to point out. First is that the May 1st and Friday, of course, are the same date, but from a user experience type of view, you want to know exactly what day you went to bed. And so this time I put Friday, so that way the person doesn't have to go back and look at the date just because they forgot. The sleep quality 4 out of 5 is from the good, which had a quantum value of 4 out of the 5 options that you had. I slept 0 because we obviously only slept for less than a couple seconds to get the bedtime and wake up time. And of course, you have the option here that you put for going to sleep. If you're wondering why these Friday blocks are before the Thursday, it's because I believe it has something to do with the actual time in regards to the date, but they'll only show this is actually programmed to only show the past 7 days. And the Fridays are here because I believe they don't have any hours. So there's that. At the bottom, there's the weekly averages. And here we have quality, which is the average okay, hours, which are 1. And then we have the bedtime, the average bedtime, and the average wake up time. For this app, for front end, I used React with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then for the back end, I used .NET and C#. Now, for one of the major problems I had facing creating my final project was displaying the times here, like 3:30 p.m. The date here was to actually convert it and to actually have it for the Eastern Standard Time Zone. For that, I used something called Minute, which allowed to translate the date time from the C# database to this time right here, which you see through 30 p.m. The other thing was finding out the averages. For instance, the quality and the hours. I had to use a reduce function to take all the numbers, add them together, and then I had to use I had to divide them from the total, which would have been the length of the amount of data, which would be the past 7. And then, of course, you have the average bedtime and wake up time. But overall, the biggest point of this app was to allow a person to track their sleep on a weekly basis, and that would allow the user to kind of still stay within the present moment. Doing it by day would be nice, but it's not enough information to get a holistic view. A lot of the apps I was using would give a week. They'd either give a week by week, month by month, but they still give all the data previously. And for this, I personally did not want to do that because I wanted the person to kind of focus on what they're currently doing for this week. Because in sleep issues, usually the problems, majority of people usually fit in 2 buckets. One is in sleep apnea, which is regarding having breathing issues at night that keep people awake, and the other is more psychological, which deals with relaxation. This is the reason people talk about using meditation and et cetera, et cetera. But in this case, we're just focused on how our sleep is going regarding to trying to improve ourselves. The other thing I want to talk about is what I would do for the next version of this app, and it, of course, to be add a profile for each person to track their own personal stats, to add more dynamic functionality to this web page, to the display page, as well as add more of like a graph here to show a visual, give more visual experience for the user, and then ultimately try to find a different way of doing the sleep quality, which you see here. Maybe adding some descriptions for each one to kind of clarify what each one means, or maybe even doing something entirely different to rate the sleep quality. Out of everything regarding to creating this app, this was actually the hardest thing to figure out to how to rate the sleep, because sleeping is not really an active activity. If you think about it, it's really it's an unconscious passive activity. So trying to have someone to rate something that they're not really conscious for is a bit of a struggle. Of course, most apps do it through recording noises, recording the sound using your phone, or using, for instance, a Fitbit recording your heart rate. Both of those can have issues in regards to accuracy. So I thought with the time allotted that I had, I used I mostly explored just using the five rating system instead. So let me just do this again. So there is my app. Again, this is Kamari from the Suncoast Developers Guild Cohort 17. I'm on LinkedIn as well as on GitHub. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and thank you for being a part of this. Have a great day.
Mural Book was created after my wife and I had difficulty locating a few of the murals in the Tampa Heights neighborhood one Sunday. As we walked around, I realized that having a database where you could preview the murals, discover the artist, and save your favorite murals would be a great way to get the community involved with the beautiful art that's all around us. On page load, you'll see that we have a nice big Heroes section with 3 buttons begging for user interaction. A Find Murals button that takes you through to a list of all of our murals in card view as well as on a map. Sign up and log in. As you scroll down the page, you'll see you get to a nice call to action section that further pushes the user through to the All Murals page. On click, you can see that our murals render in card view as well as on the map. Each map marker is clickable with an image preview, and that image preview is clickable through to the individual mural detail page as well. Each mural has an address and a little bit of information associated with it, including a description and the artist name. Each artist name is clickable through to an artist profile that contains links to their personal Facebooks, Instagrams, and websites. Finally, on user sign up and login, they're able to start bookmarking murals. Once they do log in, a user is directed to their profile page where they can actually view their favorited murals in card view and on the map. Just like all the maps everywhere else on the website, each map pin is clickable so that you can click through to the individual details on that mural. My understanding of how all of these pieces interact and exist together in a complete ecosystem is one of the biggest takeaways I have for this capstone project. However, I know that one of the most useful tools that I've learned is how to institute user accounts and how to hash and verify hash passwords. In doing so, I use the Microsoft Identity tool in the .NET framework to hash the password on sign up and then hash the user input on login to verify it against the hash password in the user database. All of this was extremely interesting to me, and I know this is going to be beneficial to me in the long run. One of the challenges when building this website was utilizing hooks. We had just finished learning about hooks and utilizing useState and useEffect in class when I began building out my project. I didn't fully understand how to move props between parents and children well enough right out the gate. I was able to go back and rewatch some of our lecture videos and was able to code in a sandbox until I was able to pass properties between components. With that in mind, I was able to utilize that same problem-solving structure on several other issues that I ran into throughout the course of design. Upon submission of my capstone project and the subsequent code freeze, I've had some time to think about how I'd like to optimize and upgrade my website. Immediately, I'd like to add administrator access to further abstract away from the user the ability to add artists and add murals. With that in mind, I'm going to be building out a user submission page where they can upload pictures of murals that they'd like to see added to the database, as well as details about said mural. After that, I know that there are some optimizations to be made with regard to my database calls. When I'm getting all of the murals or getting all the murals associated with a user, I'm bringing through a lot of extra data that is extraneous at this point in time. Thank you for taking the time to learn a little bit more about my app and a little bit more about myself. I look forward to speaking to each and every one of you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Matthew Dick and welcome to my capstone demo. I'm a student at Suncoast Developers Guild learning full stack development. I come from an IT background in the credit card acquiring space where I managed several IT teams and various projects. I took this course to learn new skills in today's web technology centered around React full stack development. I chose to make this web app because I have a friend who owns a restaurant and he's mentioned quite a few times that he would like to enhance his current website to allow customers to order items online. I also wanted to learn how to make a website with a responsive shopping cart. I based this application around an Italian restaurant / pizza shop theme because of my love for pizza and Italian food. I built this application with Visual Studio and used technologies such as React with reducer and context to implement my shopping cart. I also used JavaScript, C# and Axios to access my APIs so I could render the pages for the selected menu categories. With that said, let me show you my website. So what you see here is the home page, and just to scroll to the bottom so you can see we have some links to some of the items down here. At the top right corner, we have a shopping cart that currently shows 0 items in the cart and $0 amount. A home link and an order online selection menu. So if we select appetizers here, we'll go to another page and it will display some of the items that you can select for appetizers. This page does an Axios call on load to bring back information such as a price and a name for the item, as well as it builds a button with the logic behind it to add the item to the cart. This page also displays a picture of the menu item, which is not, the picture is not stored locally in my application, but rather out on Cloudinary. The URL to the image on Cloudinary comes back in the Axios results set, and we use that image during page build. So let's add some items to our cart right now. Let's add some jalapeno poppers and some calamari rings. You can see that they're added to the cart, and at the top of the page, the items number count and the dollar amount are updated during click and add. That's re-rendered. So let's add some buffalo wings, and if you look at the top, you can see it's added. We can delete those buffalo wings back out of the cart, and the top right is updated as well as the cart. When we navigate to another category, such as pasta, the shopping cart here stays on the page as well as what's in the header. We can still add items to the cart. Let's add 2 entrees, okay? So we're building a meal here. And let's say we want to add some salads to the meal. Let's add a Greek salad and a chef salad. So now we have 6 items in our cart. If we elect we don't want the salads, you see there are 6 in a total of 56. Let's delete the Greek salad. So the cart is updated. The item count and total at the top is updated as well. So let's order a pizza because the kids want pizza. The first thing you have to do is select the size of the pizza, small, medium, or large. We have 2 teenagers, so let's select large. You can see the final total of the pizzas updated here, but we haven't selected any toppings. Whole pizza toppings are 2. Since people like different things, we have the availability to do a left half of the pizza and the right half. So let's, for instance, put pepperoni and sausage on the whole pizza. So if you want to pay attention to these, as I click, the pepperoni is added and the sausage is added, thus our topping total and our final total is added. Let's add some olives for now. And let's say one person wants on their half some mushrooms and green peppers, and the other person wants extra cheese and onions. We've decided now that we really don't want the olives, so we can deselect the olives, and it will change the price here. It will reduce that. And this person no longer wants mushrooms, so we'll delete that as well. So now that our pizza's built, let's add it to our cart. We are now in the cart page, and it shows everything that's in the cart that we've selected on the previous pages. It shows our subtotal, our tax, and our total, as well as the shopping cart. It only shows the subtotal. If we want to delete an item at this point, let's delete the pasta with marinara sauce. We can delete items from this page. If we elect, since we deleted the pasta, we would rather have a different entree, we can still go back here and add a chicken cutlet parmesan. We can either go to our cart via here, or we can go to checkout. So this time, let's proceed to checkout from here. So checkout still shows all of the items in the cart. And let's say, we're on a theme of Italian here and we really don't want the jalapeno poppers. We can still delete those at the last minute from the order. I pre-filled some information. So let's pretend we're John Smith, we're checking out, etc. And the information, he can select pickup or delivery. The next screen is going to use a ternary to determine what was selected here and display the proper message to the customer. So let's say John wants delivery. So we'll pick delivery and we'll submit our order. So what happens on this page is we thank him for his order. We let him know that the order has been received by our system as being prepared. We email a receipt to him. Currently from Heroku, I can't do this. So later on, that'll be an enhancement. And we're letting him know that it should be there in about 30 to 40 minutes. And we give him another display of his total order. So that's the basic design for the website. Some of the other things I'd like to do post on this website is I would like to integrate an API for some credit card processing, maybe with Square or Stripe or some other processors. I'd like to add a screen so a restaurant owner can add items to the menu. Thus, he'd have to put in the category, the price, the name of the item. I'd also like to allow him to drag an image for the menu item to the page. That would upload it to Cloudinary. Cloudinary would return in response the URL, which I would add to the table so that it works in the dynamic menu selection. Another enhancement I'd like to do is implement users so they can sign up for accounts. And I would store that PCI or PII data encrypted in storage because of the laws. We don't want that data being stolen. So post-graduation, I'd hope to find a job where I can utilize the skills that I've learned at Suncoast. And until then, I will continue to enhance my skills with JavaScript, C#, a lot of React skills that need to be sharpened to become very proficient. And after I feel comfortable in that, I would like to learn Ruby on Rails and various other skills. So thank you for your time. I greatly appreciate you watching. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Have a good day. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Mike Keogh, and my app is called Happy Hour, which uses a C# for the back end and JavaScript and React for the front end. And I chose this project because I found that there really isn't a one-place destination that someone can go to find happy hour specials for bars in their local area. They kind of either have to visit each individual bar's website, and most of the time those websites are hard to navigate and for the most part don't have the happy hour specials on there anyway, or they can call each individual bar, and no one really wants to do that. So if I go ahead and enter the page, brings up the map for your current location. I'm currently in Newport Richey, so that comes up. And as you can see, there's a few markers on here. If you click on them, it'll bring up a link for that specific marker's homepage, and it has the name of that bar on it as well. So you can also click on this button, which will show your current location on this map. And then version 2.0 of this app will make it so it doesn't zoom out quite so much when you click on that button. So if I click on this one, TJ's Bar, and I go ahead and click it, it'll take me to that bar's homepage where it has the name of the bar, the address, phone number, and the phone number is clickable. So if you're on your mobile device, you can call it, and then it has the specials down at the bottom. You can also search by city. So if you were in Tampa, but you were meeting some friends in St. Pete after work, and you wanted to see what the specials were for St. Pete, you could go ahead and search, and it'll bring up the bars for St. Petersburg. You click on this one, Three Birds Tavern, you can go ahead and click on that one, or any of the other ones. Another feature is if you were a bar owner and you stumbled across this app and you wanted to add your bar to the map, you can go ahead and add it here. But before you're able to add it, you have to be logged in or signed up. So I'll go ahead and use my login. And then another update for version 2.0 will make sure there's more verification for the email address to make sure it is valid, and the password will be hidden while you're typing it in. So once I'm logged in, I can go ahead to the add my bar page. Gonna go ahead and add Varsity Sports Bar. Address is 3523 Middle Road. City is Trinity, Florida. Zip is 34655. Phone number is 727 232 2945. And then we'll just make up some happy hour specials Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. And let's just say they have dollar off all drafts. Alright, and then once you add this, it'll take you to that new page you just created. It has the name, address, phone number, which is clickable, and then the specials. Then you can go back to the map right here. And then this should be it. Yep. And then there is the bar we just added. We are able to do this by using a Mapbox API call. So once you input the address, the Mapbox API will take that address, find the latitude and longitude for it, and then put it on the map for us. And that is pretty much my app. Version 2.0, I would like there to be more verification, because right now pretty much anybody can add a bar. So I'd want it to be more like there would be a request form that they would fill out, and then we would look at it to make sure it is a legitimate bar, and then get their approval once we verify that it is a bar to add it to the map. But that is it. Thank you for watching, guys.
Hi.
The app I built is called Overrated, and Overrated is a social app that allows people to rate restaurants in their neighborhood. The idea was born out of a game that I play with my friends where we take different topics and we decide if we think this topic is overrated or underrated. Sometimes it's food, sometimes it's movies or books. I thought this app would be useful because I think as consumers, sometimes we can get stuck in a vacuum of going to the same places and praising the same places. This allows us to highlight some businesses, in this case restaurants, that may not get as much attention, but have a lot to offer our community. I used SQL Postgres to build my tables in the database. I populated those tables with data using Swagger. The front end is built using React.js, and the back end is .NET C#. So I'll take you through a user experience. This is my home page, and the user will come to the search bar. The user can conduct a search for a restaurant by either typing in the whole name or as little as one letter. So we'll start with the letter P, and the user can also click this search button here or simply press enter. The search results page gives us a list of restaurants, and these are in restaurant cards. Each card has the name of the restaurant and the address, and then whatever percentage score that restaurant has received based on the reviews. And then at the bottom of each card, there is the latest review, so the most recent review that's been submitted. So let's go to Paul's Chicago Pizza. And you'll see that when I hover over my restaurant card, my cursor changes to a pointer. So the user will know that this is a clickable card. This is my product detail page. And on the product detail page, there is a listing of all of the reviews. They're in chronological order. And then up at the top, we have our percentage scores again. And then when you look at each individual review, each review has the icon here of whether the restaurant was given, this is underrated and overrated. So if I'm a user and I'd like to leave a review, I can go to the leave a review button and click it. It takes me to the review page. On the review page, I can go to the icons that I imported from Font Awesome, and I can choose which rating I'd like to give. When I click on the icon, it changes color so the user knows that button has been clicked. And then I can come to this text box and leave a review. So we'll leave the best pizza around. And submit. Takes us back to the product detail page. And as you can see, the review is dynamically rendered on the page. It's at the very top of the list of reviews, and my percentage score has changed here. And we'll go back and do one more search. Type in N, go to Noble Crust, and I'm going to go back to the review page. I'm going to try to leave a review by clicking an icon and not typing in my text box. And when I submit, you'll see I have a prompt here letting the user know that they need to both choose an icon and type a review. I will never go back. I don't really feel that way about Noble Crust. I think it's a great restaurant. Submit review. Oh. So as you see, it shows up at the very top, and then my percentage score has changed. And this is my app, Overrated. It is the first app that I've built of this scope. Obviously, during boot camp, we've had some projects that have mimicked this. So I learned a lot while building this app. In the future, I think I will give myself more time to actually go through as a user and try it out over and over and crowdsource it, because other people have really meaningful feedback. So in future versions, I would like to add more topics for users to review. books and movies. And even this would be like a pet project, specific food items, like especially ones that take us back to our childhood. So if as a child, when you were growing up, you thought baked spaghetti was the best dish on the planet, you would have a space where you could input that and then write out why you feel that way. And then other people could comment on that, because I think food is a great way for people to connect. And since it's a social app, it can create those feelings of community and connection. I also would like to have a banner at the bottom of the homepage where we'd have a feature underrated review. And this would further highlight some underrated businesses in the St. Pete area. And that could change on a daily basis. Every day, a new feature review would pop up. Also on my review page, you'll notice that there is that error message that pops up if a user clicks an icon and then does not type in the text box, and vice versa. If they type in the text box but don't click an icon, they're prompted to do both. There's nothing that indicates, as in this iteration of overrated, that the user has to do that before they get that warning. So that's something that I would also like to change. But for the most part, I'm very pleased with the app, and I was very excited to get to use all of the different languages to build it. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Natalie Bagan, and this is my capstone app. It's modeled after Tea Bella, which is a tea company in Tampa, Florida. They have a very large selection of teas. There was a shop next to where I interned for a while, and I decided to go in and try a tea. I'm not really a tea drinker, so I just tried one called Dragon Wall, and I really liked it, and then had that same tea about 30 times afterwards. Just because the wall of teas intimidated me, honestly. What I did was I created a tea randomizer to try and help kind of people who are intimidated by a large selection, just by getting random suggestions. So by hitting this random tea button, it actually shows me a sampling of what they have. This label here is actually based off of Tea Bella's labeling. This black box has the name of the tea family here, so this is a white tea. The box next to it has a color associated, and then Concord Courant, for example, is the name of the tea, followed by a photo and a small description. So you can randomize all of their teas if you'd like, or if you have something specific in mind and want to try that, there is a filter. So if I wanted, for example, to just randomize green teas, because I really like green teas, I would just choose that. If I wanted, for example, to just try traditional teas that were also green, I would just choose that. And then if I wanted neither of these and just wanted to go for a flavor profile like sweet, then I would just choose sweet and randomize through that. We did use JWT tokens in our cohort, so that is how I have used, that's what I used for authentication. Takes me to my account, my name, my email, my phone number. This upper left little tea icon here gives you the option of choosing a tea to review after you've had it, for example. Let's say I really like this. Such a sweet tea. Enjoyable with sandwiches. It will then bring me to my tea log, where I have previously logged other teas. If for whatever reason I don't want to favorite it anymore, I could always unselect and reselect here. That will save if I leave and come back. That's actually saved to my user profile. If I didn't want this review anymore and I wanted to get rid of it, I would just delete it here. And then open this home back up and keep randomizing teas to try. For version 2, I'd really like to have a preference section in the account so that users can say, for example, they prefer black teas and then have a ratio in place to ensure that black tees are shuffled more often or show up more often whenever the randomizer is shuffling. I'd also like to add and incorporate a social aspect, so other people would have their tea logs and you would have access to them and their reviews as well as your own. And lastly, a search feature for now, where you can just go to a search page and search by, for example, if you were looking for Blueberry Mountain Sunrise but could only remember the name Blueberry or the word blueberry in the name, you just look that up. It'll show you all the teas that have that in the name. You choose the tea, and then it'll show you a short synopsis of that tea and everyone's review that has reviewed it on this website. Yeah, so that's my randomizer for now. I hope you like it. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Rob Kilduff. I am a student at the Suncoast Developers Guild, a full stack program out of St. Petersburg, Florida, that focuses on the fundamentals of C# as a back-end language and JavaScript as a front-end language, and how the two can be combined together to create a web application. So for today, I would like to talk a bit about my capstone project. I created a sinkhole tracker that will let a user add a sinkhole to a database, view all the sinkholes in that database, and update the status of a sinkhole in the database. I created this app for a number of reasons. The first was probably just a general educational purpose kind of thing. I feel like most people kind of know what a sinkhole is, but the scary thing is, you don't know if one's underneath your feet or not until the thing opens up, generally. So I created it just general education. I also kind of, as I was implementing the project, I realized it has, real estate purposes. If you're buying a property, you might want to know if it's in a sinkhole prone area or not. And I also created it as it was being developed. It kind of has insurance implications to it as well. If there is a sinkhole under your house, maybe you'd want to get in touch with an insurance company that's in the area that you can, work something out with them. So with that being said, let's dive right into it. You can see I greet the user, kind of give them a heads up of what all this app can do. And if you want the whole story, you're going to want to download this app. So with that being said, this is kind of just a general picture of a sinkhole. You can see right here, it's from a village in Mexico. But as you scroll down, I give the user some options. So the first option they can select is to search for sinkholes by name or county in the database. The next option lets the user view all the sinkholes that are in the database. Third option lets them add a sinkhole to the database. And the fourth is kind of just a general FAQ that I threw together in case the user wanted to learn a bit more about sinkholes. And then over here, as you scroll down, there's a map that shows all the sinkholes that are in the database. This map was built using a React Map tool. And it lets the user, first off, if you click this button, it will geolocate the user. And that's where I am right now. I'm in Lakeland. If you scroll out, you can kind of see, okay, here I am. Oh, there's a sinkhole right here. Let's click on this right here. So it's called 16-577. And then there's a link that will take you to that sinkhole's webpage. And on that webpage, it shows a bit about the details. It shows a description of that sinkhole. It's a hole in the street. It gives you some coordinates. That's the coordinates that the sinkhole's at. An address. Right now, this is a fictional sinkhole that I added to the database. and it just says, it does have an address box, county box. It's in Polk County. And then you can see this map just shows the location of a single sinkhole in the database. And you can click on it. There's no link here because it would just take you right back to this page if you clicked on it. And if you zoom out, you can see that there are no other sinkholes in the database. So that's, and then you can update right here. You can see that this sinkhole has 0 reviews. You can say, is this a sinkhole? Yes. And then cast a vote. And you can see it has 1 review. And if we refresh the page before my recording expires, we can see.
Hello, my name is Sam Grider. I've always had a fascination with NASA, space, planets, astronauts, anything space related really. So I wanted to come up with a project that sort of revolved around that theme. And that led me to coming up with an idea of a satellite tracker type app that I thought would be a good place to start and build upon. I built this primarily with Gatsby.js on the front end, as it's a React library in New React. And then on the back end, I used C#.NET Framework to build an API that this front end will make requests to. And that comes with the PostgreSQL database that will store some of the data I have here. Without further ado, let's look more in depth at this project. So here's the homepage for Spacebook. We have just a little brief overview of kind of what this is. And here we have a picture of an astronaut on a satellite. Originally, I wanted to make an image carousel right here. So it would display all the satellites on like a timer, and would just kind of keep going through them. But unfortunately, these satellites did not come with any pictures, so it was a little bit disappointing to realize I wasn't able to do what I wanted to right there. Here in the footer, we just have some additional resources to 2 fantastic agencies, that being NASA as well as SpaceX. So let's dive in a little bit more. Here we have the satellites, list of satellites we can go to. Here is a little animation I put together because the API call to NASA's Satellite Situation Center was longer than I expected. So I wanted to make something that would keep the user entertained and not lose interest and just leave my app altogether. So here's the list of satellites. There are 101 here, and you can easily filter through them in real time, so it's very responsive. Let's check out one that I particularly like because there's an Avenger named after it. Probably not after this satellite, but they do share the same name. So here's its details page. We have the name, we have when this satellite was launched, as well as when the satellite's mission ended. Below we have its general overview and description, just kind of the purpose of this satellite and what it did. And here we have the button to go back to that list of satellites we were just currently at. And on the right there should be a button to subscribe to the satellite, but we are currently not logged in, so we do not have access to that capability of subscribing to a satellite. So let's log in to our account. Going to enter a fake email that I have for this account, as well as my super secret password. So let's log in. It redirects us to our profile. Currently I'm not subscribed to any satellites. Just below we have just some account information such as our email, which is my fake email here, and the date of when I created my account, which was, in this case, yesterday. So let's go back to the satellites and subscribe to one. Let's go back to Hawkeye because I'm really interested about it and I want to subscribe to it. So here we are. We'll hit subscribe. And this takes us here where we kind of just enter more information about ourselves and our email again. And here's where you select your state. Originally, I wanted to do a notification type system where there'd be viewing calculations that I would create on the back end that would, if this satellite was still on orbit, it would determine when it's over your state and within your viewing area, and you would receive a notification via your email you provided here, or maybe even like a phone number in the future, and that would alert you when this satellite is in your viewing area. But for the scope of this assignment and within its deadline, I was not able to implement that feature. But it's certainly the very next thing I want to accomplish in the next version of this project. And that is if the user clicks yes right here that they want to receive the notifications for the satellite. So here, sending it in that we're subscribing. Looks like it went through. So let's check out our account again. And here we have the satellite currently on our list. Let's say we no longer want to be subscribed to the satellite and we don't want to receive any more notifications about it. We kind of just aren't really interested in the satellite anymore. We can delete it from our list and it goes away and our satellite's subscription list is back to being empty. Let's say like you wanted to know which satellites currently are on orbit so you could subscribe to them and actually receive notifications about them if it's in your viewing area. You can go to this link here, and this will take you to the satellites that are currently on orbit. It's the same layout, the same loading animation, although this list is a lot shorter than the actual complete satellites list. And I was expecting there to be more satellites on orbit here, but I guess that's just not the case, at least from NASA's Satellite Situation Center. But there still are a decent amount of satellites here that are currently on a mission, so you can check out this one. Turns out this one its mission is going to end fairly soon, actually. Here's the same, different detail information about it, but the same layout, the same button to go back to that list of satellites on orbit, as well as you can subscribe to this satellite. And if you want to receive notifications about it, you would, because this satellite is currently still on orbit. But anyways, that is about it for this project. Thank you for tuning in.
Hi, I'm Stefan Battaglio. I'm a student at Suncoast Developers Guild, Cohort 17, and this is Truck Tracker. Truck Tracker is a TMS, transportation management system. As a user, I can create a load, I can add a carrier to my database, I can assign or remove a carrier from my load, I can track and update a load while it's in progress. I can also search my database for past loads and carriers that are in my system. Truck Tracker was built using a C# ASP.NET backend, PostgreSQL database with EF Core, handling database queries and migrations. Frontend is in SCSS with React components. I'm also using Bootstrap and React Strap, as well as React hooks to manage state. Let's get started. All right, let's get John signed in here. All right, now you can see our menu, today's picks, today's drops, date trucks, available loads. Let's check to see what we have available today. Looks like we got quite a few loads picking up today. Let's go to this one in Atlanta. We do have, you can see all the load details here on the left. And since there is no load carrier assigned, we can go ahead and add one to it. I do have validation that confirms if this carrier is in our system. So this is what happens when I put in an unregistered number. That MC number is not in our system. Please try again. Let's go ahead and add someone to this load. Assign. And here we go. You can see on the left here, the load status is changed to covered. Let's go over to update the status and get this guy rolling. His ETA is looking like noon today. Save. Confirmation it has been updated, and you can see on the left here, the load is on the way. Now, if we go back to our available loads, you will see that that load is no longer in here. Let's take a look at today's pickups, because I just got a notification that one of my guys will not be available to pick up a load today. Let's check Salem, Oregon. All right, we do have a guy that was on the way, but he just told us he can't make it because his truck broke down. We will go ahead and remove him from the load, and it is now available. if we go back to our available loads list, you will see the load is now here in my available loads list. Let's go ahead and create a load now. We have a load coming out today out of San Diego, California. Picking up today at, let's call it noon. And then we got a load, and it's going to Austin, Texas. And it's going to deliver on Monday at 5 a.m. The weight is 23,000 pounds. It's a load of spinach. The rate from the customer is $2,500, and we found a truck to do it for $2,400. Let's go ahead and save this. I wasn't able to do it because the system will not let me schedule a pickup that is in the past, because that was 12 a.m. today. Let's switch it over to noon, send it in. And here we go. We got all our load details onto here. Load is available. I do have a Google Map API that gets the distance for me, as well as I have something calculating the net profit on the back end. If we go over to our available loads list, you will see the load is available right here. Now let's go ahead and check out the search feature. Let's say I want to find out how many loads I've had pick up out of Atlanta, Georgia. So we can search. And here you go. I have all the loads that have either picked up or delivered in Atlanta. And thanks for stopping by. That is the basic functionality of Truck Tracker. I do look forward to expanding it in the future. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you again for joining us for this portion of our Demo Day events. We hope that you will join us at our after-party event at sdg.codes/demoday-17. We'll see you there.